Hello everyone, welcome back to our TOEFL iBT speaking series. In this video, we will be focusing on tasks 3 and 5, the two integrated tasks in the speaking section that have to deal with campus situations.
So let's talk a little bit about how to practice for tasks 3 and 5. So the first thing you need to remember is that both tasks 3 and 5 are integrated tasks. Task 3 involves reading, and task 5 is just listening. But both of them relate to student situations. So they involve a campus situation or a situation with regard to coursework, etc. So what is the structure of task 3? Well, you will be given 50 seconds to read a passage, and this is most commonly a campus announcement or a student letter. Sometimes it's an article written by a student or by the school. And you will have to listen to a conversation between two students. Normally it's a man and a woman, and they will talk about the same passage that you have just read. In 30 seconds time, you need to prepare to talk about the opinions of one of the students. Okay, you will have 60 seconds in the official time to respond and to talk about one of the students' opinions and reasoning. Okay, and so this can involve all sorts of things. So when I took the test, the topic was on building a new cafeteria. Sometimes it's about some campus changes to policy, maybe parking or heating or some aspect of student life. Sometimes it relates to a change in courses offered or changes to the library hours, etc. But it should be a situation that's related to life. It's not an academic topic per se. And you will be able to develop, hopefully, an understanding of this topic very quickly as it relates to student life as you've experienced it also in university. So I have a few tips for you. You only have a short time to read, and remember that this announcement or letter or article will remain on the screen later, so you can take notes just on the main ideas, and you don't need to really talk a lot about the reading. Okay, the main part is in the listening, and so you don't need to write down a lot during the reading. Focus on understanding in the short amount of time you have. When you are taking notes during the listening part, the best piece of advice I can give you, this is very, very important. Plan for 2 columns. Draw a T column or a T graph. And then write left to right, and then left to right, and then left to right. Go back and forth between the two speakers. And so your reasoning and your notes will be very clear. If you take it all in one column, you'll need to choose them later during the preparation, and that's not that good an idea. So plan for 2 columns. Okay, draw a line down the middle and write from left to right and back and forth. This is the best way to tackle task 3 and task 5. So one of the things that you should do when you are listening to and taking notes, listening to the conversation and taking notes, pay attention to whether the speakers agree or disagree, and like or dislike whatever it was in the reading. And pay attention to the reasons. That's the most important thing. Like, dislike, agree, disagree, and what are the reasons? And normally there are 2 reasons. Sometimes there is a suggestion. If there are any, state them down using the keywords, and that's it. That's all you need to know for task 3. Let me repeat. Like, dislike, agree, disagree, 2 reasons, and suggestions, and that's it. Okay, so my suggested structure is you should summarize the main point of the reading passage in 1 to 2 sentences. It should be very short. You should state the opinions in 2 to 3 sentences. It's normally a strong opinion. Either it's a like or a dislike. And then you should state the 2 reasons that support the opinion of the student depending on which one is asked about, and then restate the opinion as conclusion if you have time. Okay, if not, just close it out and you'll be fine. The most important thing is to give the opinion and the reasons. So you're demonstrating 3 skills: the skill to summarize, the skill to provide a good structure of reasoning, and time control, control within the short time frame you have. Okay, so for instance, you can say the announcement or the letter or the article is about, etc., etc. Mark down your keywords. The woman or the man agrees with it because, etc., etc. Also give a second reason, and then therefore wrap up. Okay, this template will be further explained more in a future video, but for now, try to frame it as this framework that you can work from. So what is the reading about? What is the main opinion? What are the reasons and suggestions? Therefore, okay, this is the way you can do it. Okay, let's talk now about task 5. So task 5 is also about a campus situation. It's also about an aspect of student life. Only this time, everything is in the conversation. So when I took the test, the conversation was about a student not being able to arrive for orientation week because she was going abroad. And so there are 2 solutions: either pay more to fly in early, to arrive earlier, or to skip orientation. So there are pros and cons to both, and you have to give your reasons. So that's the structure of task 5. You need to summarize the problem, and then after you listen to the conversation, express a solution that you have and give reasoning. You'll have 30 seconds to prepare and 60 seconds to answer. So my suggestions for task 5, again, when you take notes, write them in 2 columns, 1 for each speaker. And then as the conversation progresses, draw a line between the 2 solutions. And I'll show you how to do this in the future. But when you're practicing, again, 2 columns, 1 for each speaker, because you already know that it's a conversation. Okay. Write down only the keywords. This, of course, applies to task 3. But here, the solutions can get a little bit more complicated. So you need to really focus on writing down the keywords. Okay, pay attention to the following things. What is the issue at stake? What is the issue? What are the 2 solutions? So in my case, the question was, the problem was, the student wasn't able to make it to the first day of orientation. There are 2 solutions. The first one is she could pay more money to get there, to take a train, a fast train to get there. It costs money. Or she can just skip the first day of orientation. Okay, those are the 2 possibilities. And then think about what is good, what are the pros and cons for each situation. So the structure is very similar actually to the second task, the limited choice. So use the skills that you learned during your practice for task 2, the limited choice. So use the same framework, use the same structure, use the same skills in coming up with reasoning, and apply them here to task 5. So when you get to task 5, think, okay, so I'm using my skills of limited choice. And you can use a similar structure here, and I will provide one for you here now. So summarize the problem in 1 to 2 sentences, explain the 2 possible solutions or the 2 possible outcomes, give your recommendations. Very importantly, give 2 reasons. During the preparation, when you are actively preparing in 30 seconds before the answer, you should focus on the reasons. You could focus on which solution you prefer, because this is the most important thing. What is your opinion? Which situation would you prefer? What solution would you prefer? And give 2 reasons. If you have time, concede a point, but it's not necessary. What I mean here, like in task 2, you can say, of course you can For instance, of course, you can save money by arriving a day late and not having to take a fast train. However, I still agree. So that's called conceding. Concede a point if necessary, but you have to end by restating your answer, your solution. So here is a sample response. So the issue or problem here is, etc., and the two possible solutions or outcomes are, I think, and this is the most important part, I think that the solution should be, or the advice I would give would be, this is because also, so two reasons, and therefore conclude strong, take a stance. I will remind you here the same thing that I said about the other task 2. You have to take a stance. You can't play at both sides. You really have to choose one and focus on one answer. Focus on one solution. Don't try to weigh both sides equally. It doesn't work that way. You need to focus. Just choose it and do it. Okay, here are a few suggestions with regard to tasks 3 and 5. Here you really need to start practicing note-taking. This is a different skill than tasks 1 and 2. So for tasks 3 and 5, because it's a conversation, you should practice taking notes that go back and forth between two different columns. And try to practice through different kinds of texts in different situations. So in your practice questions, you should have situations where the people in the conversation agree with the announcement, or they disagree, or they like the article, or they don't like the article. Make sure that you have a variety. Don't always just focus on announcements, don't always just focus on letters, don't always focus on just ones in which the students agree. You need to have a variety, and therefore you'll be able to respond. And there are not that many different possibilities with regard to these categories. The situations change quite a bit. There are many different aspects of campus life, but this is what you can control. The categories of announcements, letters, and articles, and the opinion, agree or disagree. Okay, make sure that you practice a lot on summarizing and stating opinions. So practice your summary skills from your notes. So make sure you'll be able to decipher your notes, after you practice your note-taking, make sure that you can summarize from those notes and practice stating your opinions. Okay.
Thank you all so much for watching this video. In the next video, video 6, we will be talking about the two other integrated tasks, tasks 4 and 6, that have to deal with academic courses.